Hey guys, it is January 27th, Wednesday, comic book a day. This week, pretty reasonable pull actually, going to be 3 relatively short videos, and we are going to get started on the first one, DC Books, with the Omega Men issue number 8. This is a bit of a slower issue than the last one, though by no means any gentler. In this issue, the Omega Men, our team, after escaping from the Citadel and regrouping, go to the planet of Vorl. Anyway, they go to this planet, the Forbidden Planet, and we see exactly why it's forbidden, why it is off limits. And let's get to the page where we see it. It's right in the middle. It's the splash page in the middle. Because there was a Holocaust on Vrul where almost 8 billion people were slaughtered by the Citadel, and the Omega Men take Kyle Rayner here, show him this essentially graveyard planet now, and explain what happened here and their motivations for wanting revenge on the Citadel. We also find out how each member of the Omega Men has played a small hand in the Holocaust at Vorl. And yeah, this is not a gentle comic. This is not a comic where our heroes are completely bulletproof or even completely 100% moral all of the time, obviously, if you've been reading. But this gives us a lot of insight into their strong convictions towards wanting to bring down the Citadel. And by doing this, by bringing Kyle Rayner here, by telling him the entire plan, we also get a peek into what it might take to get Kyle Rayner to break his own very strong convictions and help these people who are, again, by all means, terrorists, even though you may or may not agree with them. So yeah, another... I mean, it's not as action-packed. It's not as urgent as a lot of the previous issues of this book have been. A lot of it is in flashback. But again, it is by no means as... It's no means lighter for that. It's a heavy book. These are deep and deeply flawed characters. Just the more we delve into their morality, the more we delve into the past and why they have the motivations they do, I think the better it gets, the more colorful the book gets. So, yeah, that is Omega Man issue 8. Don't want to talk too much more about it. Read it for yourself. Next up, immediate change of tone here, with Grayson number 16. And for a while now, Grayson has been a kind of a pastiche or satire of the James Bond movies. In this book, they take it to 11. You can probably tell, if you're familiar enough with the Bond movies just from the cover, that this is a pastiche on the opening to The Spy Who Loved Me, to the cold open there. And this whole book is full of just on-the-nose James Bond references. We start with this guy who walks into a bar, and Grayson ambushes him, tells him that he is going after Spiral, he's going after the agents, and that he is going to take them down. We find out that this guy over here is Spiral Agent number 7, because James Bond is Agent 007. And from then, we flash to the James Bond kind of skiing escape scene. I'm guessing this is a pretty direct reference to Die Another Day, because of the driving a supercar through the snow, although they're also being chased by skiers, which means it could be like every other James Bond movie. I think he is chased by people on skis, so there we go. And then it gets even more patently ridiculous as Grayson starts singing his own theme song after leaving a body of water in his Speedo. And we go into full James Bond opening theme song here with the silhouettes of women and the guns and the shooting and the weird patterns. This book, it really does. It just goes full James Bond parody in this issue, and it is fantastic. Yeah, the song that Grayson is singing to himself is to the tune of Goldfinger, which I'm not going to bother to sing because I have a terrible singing voice. But yes, I love this book. It's I mean, this is kind of a cheap issue. It's not, it's by no means the smartest or the most complicated, but I feel it's been hinting at this a long time. There have always been kind of sly references to the James Bond series, or nods, or acknowledgments of inspiration. And I think this issue, they finally just said, you know what, fuck it, we're going full Bond. Just get it all out of their system, I suppose. I don't know. But I think it works. The way they do it, again, it's not the smartest, it's not the most subtle. By no means not the most subtle. But it's fantastic and fun, and Grayson remains one of my favorite books that DC is putting out right now. Next up, we have Superman, Lois, and Clark. And again, we kind of switched to darker. We can't keep a solid mood this week with DC. So we start with a flashback as a Clark and Lois get their first kind of vacation on this current Earth. They go to Metropolis, which apparently is Times Square now, even though we know that New York City exists in the DC universe and presumably has a Times Square of its own. Apparently so does Metropolis, and this is a early vacation between the old Clark and the old Lois in the new Earth that they are now trying to explore for the first time. And of course they pick up some Superman souvenirs because, I mean, if you're in Metropolis, you gotta pick up some Superman stuff. And we get, like, just really sweet moments here, actually, in the beginning of the book as they're celebrating their anniversary. We see Lois give Superman his black costume that he uses throughout this book. And it's just kind of sweet, flirty Lois and Clark moments. It's actually really nice and really sweet. I'm just going to go back to that second page again where we see Lois smiling and holding up the Superman shirt. It's nice. It's sweet stuff, and unfortunately it doesn't last that much longer as we jump into the present. And Lois is investigating the disappearance of her editor on the book she is writing on Intergang, and unfortunately she gets her and Clark's son John wrapped up in the whole affair by accident. So we have Intergang is now on to Lois and following, kind of tagging them around, and also Lois has accidentally endangered John. Things aren't looking too much better for Clark, as he has to fight against an escaped Blank, who's escaped from his prison in the makeshift Fortress of Solitude. And this fight is definitely harder for Superman than he had first expected it to be. Even after what we saw of Blank in the last issue, this is a hard fight for Clark, and one that he may not win by the end of the book, to try and not spoil too much. And then by the end of this book, things get even worse. We are continuing to follow what might be an even bigger threat to Lois, Clark, and the rest of the world, even bigger than Blank and bigger than Intergang. That is just yet to come. So Lois and Clark still, yeah. I mean, after that really sweet opening, it just sets you up for a sucker punch that is pretty deftly delivered. So still liking this book too. And the last DC book I picked up this week is, if you have been paying attention, you've probably guessed by now, Batman and Robin Eternal, number 17. And this is the issue where we finally resolve what happened at the end of issue 1, the cliffhanger that sets up this entire story that really hooked you 17 weeks ago. We finally find out what the end result of that is. And if you haven't been keeping up, we find out if Batman has really gone through with Mother's plan and is really expecting a Robin from Mother. And this is the majority of the book. The majority of this book is a Batman story, whereas we follow Batman after the fallout of these events, of shooting a kid's two parents in the alley. And I don't want to spoil too much because that's pretty dramatic. So I think that's all I really want to talk about. Because, I mean, that is the big cliffhanger at the end of issue 1. That's the big dramatic tension. One of the big dramatic questions of this book is, has Batman gone against his oath? Is he looking for another Robin? I don't want to spoil any of that because that's pretty spoiler territory right there. But we also, the framing device of this part of the book is that Orphan has finally been captured by Dick Grayson and is being interrogated at Spiral. And that's how this all happens, where we find out the flashback about Batman and Mother and all of that, which, again, don't want to talk too much about. And that is it for DC Books this week. We still have many books to go this week, lots of Marvel books, and a healthy serving of independent stuff. So I hope you stay tuned for that. But if not, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please rate it, subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, anything, book recommendations, anything whatsoever, please leave them in the comments below, and I will try my best to get to them. I do hope you watch the other videos. If not, that's okay. Again, thank you for watching, and I do hope that you join me for some more comic book reviews.